AVC. This is a little different. I was going to make a video this afternoon, and it's my wife's birthday today, so I met her for lunch up at her office. She works in a town about 25 minutes from here. And when I got home, I discovered her keys in my car. So I'm driving back to her office to give her her keys, and we're going to do this video from inside my car. I've got about 13 records I got to show here. These are all purchases from Vintage Vinyl in St. Louis over the last 5 or 6 months. I know. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to make more videos and get caught up. So bear with me. But yeah, some of these I bought back in October, November-ish. And the last one I'm going to show I actually bought this past week. So, all right, first up, we have Research 1612. The name of the album is In Research. This album was actually pretty good. It cost me $10, complete blind buy. A couple tracks are like nice garage rock, really tough garage rockers. A couple are really deep psych, and 3 or 4 tracks are just laid back, like hippie rock, country rock type stuff. But it's all pretty good. I liked it quite a bit, and for $10, it was a really good price. Kind of values kind of all over the place on eBay and Discogs, but $10 was kind of a steal on that. So it's a cool album, definitely worth checking out. Next up, we have Lin County with Fever Shot. This is their second album, I believe. Their first album, something Soothsayer, I think. It's like a picture of the moon on the front. It's a little bit tougher to find. This one I bought in a batch of records that I used some trade-in credit on. I got 4 or 5 albums. After my trade-in credit and what they cost me total, it was about $6.75 per album. But this is really good stuff. This is kind of like Southern rock, but with some nice psych influences. This is actually a really good album. I enjoyed this quite a bit. The title track, Fever Shot, is really good. There's not a bad track on the album. Really, really highly recommend this one. And in the same group of records with the trade-in credit, this is Blackwood Apology, The House of Leather. This is on Mercury, I want to say 68 or 69, I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is kind of a concept album. Kind of weird stuff, a little bit trippy. Dips a little more into prog than I'm used to liking, but it's really not bad. It maintains enough of a psych influence on here that I don't mind the prog elements at all. Not a great album, not one that I'm going to super praise really high, but definitely worth hearing. It was a good album. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. One of those kinds of albums. And I think for me, honestly, the prog bits keep it from being great. And it's just kind of a weird concept thing. So, but while we're checking out, and again, this was like less than $7, so cool stuff. And number 3 in that group of 4 albums that I got with some trade-in credit, this is Ford Theater Trilogy for the Masses. And again, dips a little bit into some like prog elements, but it's kind of light on the prog, whereas the Blackwood Apology is a little bit heavier on the prog. So if you're more of a psych guy like myself, this one's going to be more up your alley. If you're more into prog, definitely check out Blackwood Apology. But this is really good. This is fantastic stuff. I know like David Horowitz is big on this when he found this at a thrift store one time, Sequoia Flame. But I do enjoy this one quite a bit. This is trippy psych rock, just weirdness. I love it. I'm really into this kind of stuff. Kind of musical suites that kind of flow into each other, things like that. So another one definitely worth checking out. And if you saw my top 10 vinyl finds of 2014 video, you've already seen this album, but I never got around to actually showing it in a proper vinyl finds video. So I'm doing that now as a part of my trade-in credit. Again, less than $7. Price paid for myself. This is Alexander Spence, or Skip Spence, or Skip Spence was in Moby Grape. That's what he's most famous for. He was also one of the founding members of Jefferson Airplane, or at least an early member. I guess I shouldn't say founding member, but a very early member in Jefferson Airplane. The story goes that Marty Balin bumped into him on the street and thought he looked like a drummer and asked him to be in the band. So that's kind of the legend or the rumor anyway. This album was after he was in Moby Grape. He got kicked out of the group basically for charging a bunch of them in a recording studio with an axe and got put into a mental hospital. And while he was there, he wrote a bunch of music. When he got out, he drove to Nashville and recorded this with Columbia. All recorded by himself, vocals, all instrumentation, all written by himself, produced the album, mixed it, kind of everything. This is, an all-in-one kind of deal. He did everything himself on this album, and it's kind of along the lines of like a Syd Barrett or a Daniel Johnston. This is a really hard to find album. This is an original copy on the 2i Columbia. See if I can do this while I'm driving. Oh my gosh. There you go. 1C in the dead wax, so not a 1A pressing, but a 1C. There was a note inside that said original, not a reissue, but rough, priced accordingly. And this cover, as you can see, I would say is near mint minus. Super strong VG plus, and the album itself is a strong VG. Some of the tracks have a little bit of a pop and a crackle in them, just some minor hairlines. Nothing that's distracting at all from the music, and it's only noticeable on a few tracks. So VG, borderline VG plus. And again, they had this priced originally at $20. So with my trade-in credit, I got this for less than $7. Definitely one of my best finds ever. This is fantastic, fantastic stuff. Check this out on YouTube if you get a chance to. All right, next up was a $4.99 find. This is the Hamilton face band. It's got some like stains on the front, like coffee stains or something on there that I can't quite get off. Need to take a magic eraser to it or something. But this is like sort of jazzy psych. I'm even hesitant to call it real psyche. Horn rock kind of stuff. Not bad, not great. Kind of, I would say just okay. I wasn't a huge fan of this, but it's kind of a tough one to find. So for $5, I got kind of a steal on it. Musically, though, not going to be a favorite. Won't get a ton of replay at my place. This is Tongue and Groove, featuring Lin Hughes, self-titled album. This was $12.99. Kind of a blind buy for me as well. I bought these back in January. I sold some stuff at a record show and had some extra cash, so I was willing to just spend a little bit extra on some blind buys this time around. This looks very psychedelic, right? The cover kind of has that Big Brother and the Holding Company kind of feel to it. And I guess it's kind of accurate to what it is. It's pretty much straightforward blues rock. Not as psychedelic as you would expect it to be. I would say barely psychedelic. A couple tracks have some cool like fuzz guitar stuff on it that gets a little trippy. But for the most part, pretty much straightforward blues rock. Pretty good stuff though. Lin Hughes, she kind of an unknown female vocalist from that era, but she could really sing. And she does a great job on this album. And it wasn't bad at all. Just if you're looking for blues rock stuff, definitely check these guys out. This is cool stuff. All right, next up, this was $12.99 as well. This is Harvey Mandel's Cristo Redentor. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly at all, so I apologize for my Spanglish stuff there. But this is a cool instrumental album, just kind of a guitar instrumental album. Harvey Mandel was a guitarist, played with a bunch of different people, recorded on a bunch of different albums. This album in particular is blues psych, I would say. Blues rock with a lot of psych influence on it. And the very first track, the opening track that is titled, it might be Cristo Redentor, the title track on the album, is the one well worth checking out. Lots of orchestration on it, lots of strings, but very trippy, very weird vibe to it. This was an album I was familiar with thanks to guys like Zeke Geek, who I know is pretty big on the album. And for good reason. It's fantastic. I really like this album a lot. Very sparse vocals. I mean, there's some vocals on a few tracks, but for the most part, instrumental. And like nice, ethereal, floaty, bluesy, psychedelic rock. Great stuff. And this was $9.99. This is Time, or Trusted Men Everywhere, which is the most pretentious, stupid thing I've ever heard. Time, Smoothball. Kind of along that blues psych vein. This is kind of hard blues rock, psychedelic influence. Reminded me quite a bit of groups like Steppenwolf or Iron Butterfly, kind of along that vein, a little bit more hard rock, harder blues, but definitely psychedelic in nature as well. This album tends to go for $20 and $30 online, and the cover on this, you can see some ring wear and things like that, but for $10 I was pretty excited to find that and add it to the collection. And the next three albums I picked up actually in February, a few weeks ago. First up, we have the Barry Goldberg reunion. Barry Goldberg was in the Electric Flag and then went solo, did stuff under his own name and stuff under Barry Goldberg Reunion. I believe this is his first album. You'll sometimes see it titled as There's No Hole in My Soul, as it says on the back here, but a lot of times you'll just see it references his self-titled Barry Goldberg Reunion album. This was $6.99. And really enjoyed this album. If you like the Electric Flag, you'll like this. It's kind of that blues rock, kind of style that they had. A little bit psych on a few tracks, not real heavy on that, but really good blues rock. Yeah, if you find this one for cheap, pick it up. This is one I've been looking for a while. This is the Bee Gees Odessa on the original velvety cover here. This was $9.99. I was really happy with that price. That's $15, $20, for a really nice copy. So for $10, it was a price I was willing to pay on this. This is a concept album from the Bee Gees back in their late 60s period when they were doing some cool pop psych, and this is like orchestral pop psych. Very cool string arrangements and orchestral backing on this. Really cool, trippy, weird, dark, kind of deep stuff from the Bee Gees, but with their kind of poppy vocals and stuff. This is fantastic. A double album. I know Chris Dixieland Farm just showed this recently, and I think Bo just got a copy from Mark Ditch, Glass Orchid Aftermath. So this album is well worth seeking out if you're at all into psych, especially the pop psych. And speaking of pop psych, this is some sunshiny pop psych. This is Eternity's Children, self-titled on Tower. This was $9.99, and this is actually a pretty rare album, pretty tough to come by. Again, like my Skip Spence album, they had a sticker on it that said rare but worn, priced accordingly, and it's actually not worn very much at all. I'd say the cover's Fiji, with some splitting up top, if you can even remotely see that, but really not too bad condition overall, and the album plays through beautifully. It's a strong BG+. So I was very happy with that. Yeah, they had a hit with Mrs. Bluebird, fantastic sunshine pop psych track, and the album is in sort of a sunshiny pop vein, but with some nice psych arrangements and some nice psych influences. A little bit of like a loungy psych feel to a few tracks. Really good album. Rupert White is another one of my favorite tracks on there, along with Mrs. Bluebird. Yeah, so for $10 to find one of my kind of mini grails, I will say, was amazing. Just an album I didn't think I'd see in person. So really happy with that find. And last but certainly not least, last week I went into Vintage Vinyl. I had about 30 minutes to kill, so I looked through their $2.99 bin and came across this. This is the Bubble Puppy, A Gathering of Promises. They are on the International Artist label, along with 13th Floor Elevators, label mates with them. This is a recent reissue. I don't know the year for sure. It's on the International Artist label, kind of a blue-green label with silver lettering. Kind of emulates the original album label and the artwork. There's no barcodes on it. There's no reissue label. So I know it's not the Sunday's reissue. Might be a bootleg reissue. I don't know. But it's definitely in the late 90s or 2000s, just with how glossy and clean the cover is. For $3, I couldn't pass it up. There was a sticker on it that said Warped. I put it on my turntable. There's a little bit of a wobble. I mean, just a real long kind of warp. It's not a sharp one. The needle didn't jump on it. It played through. It actually tracked fine. Sounded great. So I'm really happy with that find. Again, $2.99 for a recent reissue of a fantastic album that I, hope to find an original of someday, but don't want to shell out the $60 that it normally goes for. But yeah, that's everything I got from Vintage Vinyl over the past 5 or 6 months. So you're caught up with those finds. I hope to do another video soon with some finds from Euclid Records in St. Louis, some eBay purchases, and a couple thrift store finds from late last year as well. So bear with me here as we try to get through March and catch up from my finds from last year and some from this year as well. But thanks for sticking with me, guys. Thanks for coming along on my ride. I'm almost to my wife's office, and I can get her keys back and turn around and head home. So we'll talk to you later, guys. See ya.